I can't believe it, guys. I'm super serious. This is messed up, man. Twitter banned my account. I can't tweet. And Coulter was following me. Oh. What am I going to do without Twitter? What am I going to do? What am I going to do without Twitter? Really? What am I going to do without Twitter? All right, so let's talk about something. First of all, the great thing about getting banned from Twitter is not using Twitter for at least a day. The second great thing about getting banned from Twitter is that it means, see, it's kind of a microcosm of what's going on in the country, okay? So by them not even following their own rules and by not applying their rules evenly to everyone, they're essentially saying their rules are meaningless. That their rule, I mean, so therefore it's not immoral to not follow them, right? Now, obviously, it's not this huge sin to not abide by the terms of service, but you could make an argument, admittedly kind of a weak argument maybe, that it is immoral to agree to their terms of service and then not follow them, right? Until their terms of service isn't applied the way that they're telling you they're going to apply it. It's not applied evenly. It's applied selectively, or sometimes it's just not at all. In my case, so this is my second Twitter ban, right? The first one was because it was the BlackPilled account, and it was because I linked to my book on Amazon, which which later then banned my book. You know, so. But before the book was banned from Amazon, I got banned just for posting a link to it in my bio. And they said that the name of my book was hate speech, and so they just banned my account. And of course, you know, unless you're some blue check mark, you know, you're not going to actually be able to talk to anyone that's a human or anything like that. So you just get lost in the shuffle, and they just expect you to go away. And, you know, whatever, I did. So I had my other account. I started using my Devon Stack account. And this time, which got banned, if you don't know, I mean, it's breaking news. Oh, Devon Stack banned from, yeah, okay. It doesn't matter, right? So I got, Devon Stack account got banned from Twitter today. And this time, I didn't even get a reason. So I can't even be like smug about my edgy tweet that got me banned. Which is kind of, I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of hoping, at least, that I'd see the one that kind of pissed the one that sent him over the edge, to where they were like, okay, we got to get rid of this guy. He's talking about the Boy Scouts being ruined by this woman with the last name of Eisner. He equated gay scoutmasters in a forest to an open bar at an AA meeting. And, you know, and the other thing is, too, I didn't even tweet, I don't think. Like, I think I retweeted a couple things for the last 2 days because I've been busy doing stuff around the homestead. So, I mean, like, I was just, you know, retweeting a little bit. Oh, that looks cool, whatever. But I wasn't saying any, you know, I didn't have any hot takes about any cool stuff going on, you know. I think the last thing I did was maybe the boys. The other thing is, oh, you know what? Maybe it was Molyneux. maybe it was Stefan Molyneux. I pushed him over the edge with me calling him out on his eugenics take. Which, by the way, we're going to talk a little bit about eugenics today because it is related. Believe it or not, it is related to my Twitter ban. Yes, it is. It's very related. We're also going to talk about the Rope movie. The Rope movie. Now, actually, let's talk about that first, right? Because I've got a lot of you guys here. And so let's talk about that first because I want that to be the thing that gets out. I don't care about it. I really don't I don't give a shit about getting banned from Twitter. I don't. And, I mean, because like I said, that means the rules don't mean anything. I can just keep making accounts all day long, and who gives a fuck, right? I'm not going to follow the rules if they're not following the rules, right? So ban 50 of my accounts, Twitter. I give a fuck. And a lot of you guys will be like, "Oh, why even use Twitter?" Well, it's because I still get a lot of information there, and like it or not, I still reach a lot of people there. And Coulter's not retweeting me on Gab, unfortunately. But I am, that said, I'm going to be a lot more active on these alternatives because the clock's ticking, right? I mean, YouTube. The only reason I'm doing this one on YouTube instead of DLive is it might be one of my last ones on YouTube. My book's gone, the Twitter's gone. Well, for now, and there's I keep getting threatening messages from. Well, I'm not gonna. I don't want to accelerate it, but there's other platforms that don't like me, as you can maybe imagine. But anyway, let's talk about the movie. All right. So the movie. I'm gonna give you guys the basic idea. I think I need to let you guys know now so you can start working on your submissions if you want to participate, because it could take some time. And I also think that not just to produce and stuff like that, but to like plan something good, and let's get it started. There's no reason for us to just be sitting here twiddling our thumbs, especially because I'm crowdsourcing some of this stuff, and you guys are gonna be doing a lot of the work. So. Here's the bottom line. I wanted to make a film where people can participate, where we don't have to dox ourselves, we don't have to spend a lot of money, because especially when you're first starting out, when you're a virgin filmmaker or a student filmmaker, one of the first things you'll learn after making some really ambitious piles of shit is that you need to work within your means. You need to. It's great to have like this pie in the sky. I want to make the next Star Wars, whatever. Or I guess no one wants to make the next Star Wars anymore. But you know what I mean. But if all you have is an iPhone and an illegal copy of Adobe Premiere or something like that, you're not making the next Star Wars. You're just not. Especially, I mean, you're not even making the next THX. You know what I mean? So you got to work within your means. And you can make some really great stuff, if you work within your means. And so I thought about it, and I think I've come up with something that will allow everyone to participate. It'll be something that's good, because like I said, if it's not good, I just won't even release it. I don't want to release crap. I'll maybe make some clips available if you guys put a lot of work into it, something like that. But we'll make it salvageable. But if the overall final product's not good, there's no point in releasing it. And so keep that in mind. I don't want people submitting stuff just to submit stuff. I mean, that's great if you want to have fun and do that, but just keep in mind we're trying to keep the quality level of this as high as possible. And now here's the part where that is actually kind of easy, or at least easier than you might think. So you might be familiar with the term found footage. And that's a genre. Usually it's a horror movie genre. And, I think like the first one you could say was like Blair Witch. And then, more recent ones, there was like VHS, I think, was one. But most notably, there was one called, what was it called? Unfriended. That's what it is. And it actually has a sequel. And on Unfriended, the entire film takes place. It's not that great of a movie. It's just that the idea behind it's good. In fact, I recommend you check it out so that you know what I'm talking about if you're going to submit something here. So, the entire film takes place on a computer desktop. The entire film. Now, that might sound really boring, but the way that they executed that was, you're basically watching the entire movie, so like the whole 2 hours or however long it is, as if you're watching this person's computer screen. And what they're doing is they're opening up Skype and making Skype calls to other people, and so there's a lot of stuff going on, or then they'll minimize something and play a song or whatever. So as boring as that sounds, that you're just looking at someone's desktop for like 2 hours, it actually works. I mean, for like a cheesy horror film, it works. It's not going to win any awards. Another good one would be Paranormal Activity, where they've got like a billion of those now. But you kind of get what I mean, where the footage that's in the movie is presented as, oh, we found like these tapes, like with Paranormal Activity. I think that was the gimmick, right? Or and certainly with Blair Witch, right? Like, oh, these kids, they were filming themselves in the forest, and then the Blair Witch came and rah. And so that is why we have, or even another one was Cloverfield, where the first Cloverfield one, not the second one where they're in the bunker, but the first one where it's like the kid running around the city, or in the beginning it was like footage from someone's going away party, stuff like that. So you kind of get the idea where every shot in the film, none of it is, well, I mean, when Hollywood does it, it's professionally lit and they do makeup and all that stuff. But the idea is it's supposed to look like it's just like, oh, we just found this footage. Um, Now, and the good thing about, and I'll explain how this is all going to come, like how this is all going to work here in a second. But another good thing about using this method for the film is that we can we can tie in real footage with the setup, the fake real footage. You know what I mean? So like we could have clips of like Antifa fighting and clips of Hillary or whatever, right? Just edit in with our fake stuff to tell the narrative in a way that's convincing, it's realistic. I think gets you into like the reason why you see it so much in horror films is it kind of gives, like with Paranormal Activity, for example, right? I mean, come on. There's so much of that movie is boring if you really think about it. It's just boring. It's just like, here's a camera on a tripod looking at a kitchen for like 5 minutes. But you still watch it because you're like, something's gonna happen. Because you're into it, because your brain, I mean, it's not real, but because it's being presented in a way that could be real, you're like, yeah, that's kind of creepy. It adds that layer of realism, which is why it affects you emotionally when you're watching these scary movies, because you're drawn into it way more than you would be if it was crazy CG and like all these fancy. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can do scary movies with great CG and stuff like that too, but there's something special about the way that these found footage movies do it. That's what we're kind of leaning on. So what I want from you guys is the basic idea. If you've read my book, first of all, if you haven't read my book, read my book. Get a copy if you still can. It's on Barnes and Noble. There should be a link in the description. But also now, the audiobook is available on iTunes, Google Play, and then audiobooks.com, and maybe some other stuff too. I went through someone that just put it in a bunch of places, and I don't know where it's. I don't even know all the places it's at right now. But you should be able to, because there's some people that don't live in America, for example, that can't go to Barnes and Noble, I've been told, and so that's another option, because there's well, you can certainly use Google Play and stuff like that, but as much as I hate to give them money, but it is what it is. Anyway, or if you don't have to pay for it, just listen to the first chapter. It's free on my channel. I think it's like if you just go to my channel page, it might even be like the featured video or something. It'll give you an idea of kind of like at least the mood and the tone. But I'm going to have like a website. I'll make a website that kind of has more details on this, but if you want to get started, here's basically the idea. The idea is it's going to be a lot like Unfriended in that it's going to be a computer desktop, not the entire movie, but for the vast majority of it. And what we're going to be looking at is essentially through the eyes of an NSA employee who's spying on people in the movement, people in Antifa, government officials. He's just on his desktop browsing through communications, and he's spying on different people. So the way that the found footage works is when he goes to look at someone that he's spying on, he's just activating like either the camera on their laptop, the camera on their phone, the camera, on whatever, right? And essentially, or like on their Alexa, whatever, right? So he's just activating, or maybe just their security camera. So start thinking now, like the different camera angles that would be appropriate. Like, don't try to frame it to where it's like perfect and it's obviously, unless it's like a laptop, right? Because that would be framed pretty perfect. So if you want something that's going to be framed pretty perfect, you got to understand like what like would this camera realistically be like this? At the same time, you don't want to go overboard and it's like the camera's like in someone's pocket. Like, oh, they just activated their phone. Unless you have some really clever way of doing that, which maybe you can come up with something cool where it's mostly audio, or the camera gets pulled out of the pocket or something like that. Okay, so think of different scenes that would fit in the Day of the Rope universe, where it's an NSA employee trying to basically find the main character, Ethan, and who's, if you've read the book, you know who he is. If you haven't, he's essentially, I don't know how to, I guess a really basic way of explaining it, he's like a pedo hunter. Okay, that's a real basic way of explaining it. And so they're trying to track him down. Like there's more to it. This is all you need to know, okay, for what you're going to make. Imagine they're trying to track this guy down, and in doing so, because there's so much data, right? Like there's so much traffic on the internet, and there's so many moving pieces. There's so many people getting spied on. Everything is getting transcripted in real. Like what I'm saying right now is probably being transcribed into a server at NSA somewhere. Like everything, all of you people that are in chat, everything, it's all being recorded all the time, right? So there's just a lot of it's just shit. And in fact, if you have something that's funny, that's not too vulgar, because that's the other thing too, is it's not going to be rated G, okay? It's not. But keep in mind that we don't want it to be too degenerate either. Like it's okay. It's funny because the left always gets mad, like, oh, so ultraviolence is okay, but butt sex isn't. And the answer is a resounding yes. So ultraviolence is okay, but even that, within reason. But we don't want to see, we don't want to see anything that's too disturbing. So think of different things this NSA guy would be finding, and if you like I said, and don't make it too long, because we want to have a lot of these strung together. And we're also going to have consistent characters throughout. So it's not going to just be like this montage of stuff that you guys made that doesn't really make any sense. There's going to be some real actors that are working off of a script, and that's going to be stitched in with all the stuff you guys are making and submitting. Okay, so just to give you an idea, to give you some context of what this would look like. So you can make these scenes that you think would be funny and try to keep it under like 3 minutes. Okay? Try to keep it under 3 minutes, and even shorter if you can. You can, in fact, if you have something that's really funny or really cool and it's only like 20 seconds, hey, go for it. It doesn't have to be super long. In fact, I'd prefer it if it wasn't. We want like lots of good short bites, and not like super long stuff that's if you make something super long and I can edit it down, that's fine. It's just that keep that in mind, because the movie can only be so long. In fact, I kind of suspect it's not going to be like a Lord of the Rings kind of length movie. It's going to be a lot shorter, just like that movie that I was referencing, the Unfriended. I think it's only like 90 minutes or something like that. So that's kind of what we're going for, is maybe even a little, maybe in the 70 to 80 minutes, because of attention spans and all that stuff. So just try to think of funny things that the NSA, or not even funny, scary things actually. Funny is one way you could go with it. Scary is another way you could go with it. Fucked up is another way you could go with it. But like again, use your judgment. I don't want to see. There's a lot of things I don't want to see. So just don't send me anything I don't want to see. So how do you get this to me? Well, here's the cool thing too. So I mean, in 2020, not only can we can literally crowdsource a movie. Everyone's got a phone that some of which do like 4K. I think there's probably 6K cameras out there now on phones. I don't even know. And because this is found footage, and because it's most people know how to at least somewhat edit and stuff like that, and understand audio and video and stuff like that a lot more than they would a few years ago. But you also understand, hopefully, how to upload files to like Dropbox or whatever. It doesn't or an anonymous sharing service, whatever you have that's going to create a link that you can send that I can then download and take a look at. So now when you do that, and this is important because just for legal reasons, because people could try to screw me over and be like, and send me a clip that's copyrighted or something like that. When you submit a clip, and I'm going to give you the email address to send a link to here in a second. It's actually really easy to remember. But when you do that, you need to also give me permission, essentially, in writing to use your submission. So hopefully you can like zip it up, and with a note that says, I'm giving this to BlackPilled.com to use in their rope movie or to use in whatever way they see fit. And maybe I'll even get a standard release kind of a form that you can use. The problem with that is, with the release form, is that then you'd have to use your name and stuff like that. So I know not everyone's going to want to do that. So maybe maybe after, okay, or maybe we can just do it over email, and just you'll take responsibility via email. I don't know. Here's the thing: this movie's not going to be making money, so no one's going to be able to really sue me anyway, because it's not going to be making a ton of money. Because even I do want to try to get it, if it's good. I will try to get it to play in maybe a couple theaters just for fun, like in maybe some bigger markets. And we'll make it to where, like, if I'm gonna make this as high quality as possible and try to make it out there as make it as a product. But this isn't like a money making thing, okay? This isn't like a big fundraising thing for me or anybody. Like no one's getting paid really to do this. This is just because we want to do content. We want to make culture. We want to create something that's for us. That's not just completely meant to subvert us. And something that, by the way, might subvert our enemies. Something that's, if it's good, see, that's the thing about art, is you don't have to be, and think about that when you're doing your little clips, is you don't want it to be too on the nose. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want it to just be preachy or some kind of manifesto or something like that. It just needs to be something that's clever, that's funny, that's entertaining, that that says that if you read between the lines, it still communicates what we want to communicate, if that makes any sense. And we'll talk about this more. I just wanted to kind of roll that out because, and the email address, before I forget, because I will forget, is ropemovie@protonmail.com. So that's easy, ropemovie@protonmail.com. So once you've created your clip and you've uploaded it somewhere, and again, there's anonymous ways of doing this. It's not, you don't have to use, if you're freaked out about using like Dropbox or something like that, whatever, just anything you want, as long as it's something that I can download, and then just send the link with a note saying that just briefly that you have permission to use this clip that I've created, and I might email you back just like something a little more formal if I feel like I have to. But and then I'll check it out. And there are no guarantees. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that submit stuff that we can't use for one reason or another. It's not an insult or anything like that. But keep that in mind. You want it to be high quality. This is as much as like we're not making any money off this. It doesn't mean that it should just be crap. Like we want this to be interesting. We want this to be cool. We want this to be something that we're proud of. Something that if it was a fair and just world, that if we submitted it to a film festival, they would play it. I mean, obviously they're not going to, right? Unless we make our own film festival, which is not entirely outside the realm of possibility, but it's not really anything I'm thinking about doing right away. But it's we got to be realistic. It's not going to get any film festivals. If it gets into theaters, it'll be because we rented them out or something akin to that, and then sold tickets to maybe cover the rental fee or whatever. And there's ways you can do that. There's actually ways that we can do that. If it's good, I'll put in the extra effort, and we'll make sure we can get it to play at least in maybe some bigger cities, or maybe if like most of the people that sent submissions were from like Dallas or something, then we'll have like a screening in Dallas or something like that. But we'll make it this is going to be a real movie. Despite the equipment that's going to be used, like and speaking of equipment stuff, the other thing that like I said, make sure that you don't want to frame the shots too perfectly. Okay, one thing you can do too perfectly is the audio. Okay, now a lot of microphones on phones and tablets and stuff like that are getting a lot better, so it's not as much of an issue as it would have been maybe a couple of years ago. But that's one thing I don't care of, is if in fact I would even do some tests personally with your whatever you're going to be using to make sure it doesn't sound like crap. Like it has to at least sound as good as if you're doing a YouTube video. You know what I mean? Like if it's all echoey and I can't hear you, I mean I can do a little cleanup on the audio, but I can't work miracles. Like you can't bring audio in that isn't there, or vice versa. You can't get rid of, like, if it's super loud and wherever you're shooting, unless that works, right? Like if you're in a restaurant and that's where the NSA guy clicks your phone on, and there's restaurant sounds, and and maybe it has to be subtitled, right? That could work, and kind of think like Project Veritas, right, where it's the audio is not that great, as long as I can hear it. But at the same time, I would try to make the audio as good as possible. And then if I want it to sound shitty, I can make it. I can always make stuff sound shittier, but you can't always make it sound better. So anyway, keep that in mind. I want everyone to be working on that stuff and try to come up with cool ideas of what you can do, funny ideas of what you can do. You could, and again, you in terms of the types of people the NSA guy is spying on, it could be anyone. It could be an Antifa guy, talking about a protest and how they're going to go ruin it, or whatever. It could be a guy like Ethan. It could be a politician, someone who works for a politician. I mean, just think of like the different conversations that would be interesting if you could be a fly on the wall, and or think of what you'd want to listen to if you worked at the NSA, and you could just click into private conversations of everyone involved in politics and involved in the movement and everything else, the kinds of stuff you'd want to hear, and the kinds of stuff you'd want to spy on, that's the kind of thing that you should be thinking about. Like, what would be interesting for you to see, and that's the kind of stuff you should try to make. So that's the movie stuff. I think I've covered the movie stuff. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, and which is related to the Twitter ban, and I'm not going to spend like a ton of time on this, but so many people have already talked about this, so I'm not gonna just sit there and hammer it. I mean, for those who don't know, Stefan Molyneux tweeted something out. Well, first of all, it started. Richard Dawkins tweeted out that look, we need to at least admit that eugenics works, and we can still oppose it on a moral basis, but if we keep lying about the science behind selective breeding, something that farmers have been. You think the cows that you have in your hamburger are anything like the cows that we first domesticated? I mean, no, they're way bigger. They're way bigger. Same thing with chickens. Anyone that's in fact, there's different kinds of chickens, but if you get the kind of chicken that you get just to eat, the meat birds, I mean, those things don't happen in nature. They don't exist in nature. They just don't. Eugenics were applied to those chickens. Or think of like house cats, dogs. Those things aren't in nature. I mean, they were selectively bred through a eugenic process where you would look for the kinds of traits that you want to promote, and then make it so that those traits would continue on by increasing their ability to breed, and then the traits you didn't like, you would try to ruin their ability to breed. Okay, so Molyneux, of course, took on this government bad, and it's like he took either. I don't think he missed the point. I think that he got. I think it's a conversation he doesn't want to have, which is weird because he's the one that if you listen to his show, he's always talking about like this is a reality. When you talk about selecting mates, like he even talks about like when there's people that are going to get in interracial relationships and have children. He talks about the increase in mental illness with European and Asian combinations and stuff like that. So he knows that it works. He knows, and there's no way you can misread what Richard Dawkins was saying, because he replied to his own. He basically made a thread because people were all losing their shit over it, and he was like, "Look, I'm not saying I want to do eugenics. Like, I'm saying it works." And so, anyway, it does work. And we know that it works because they've been doing that in America since 1965. And they've been doing that all over the West for the last several decades. I mean, in fact, there's a story today on Gab Trends, which I'm going to plug because fuck Twitter, where they talked about a Google Cloud manager being arrested in Hawaii. Or I don't know if he was arrested in Hawaii, but he was arrested because while in Hawaii, his wife went missing and then was found dead. And they talk about how, the Washington couple. And the name of the Washington couple, let's see here. These guys sound like they're from Washington. Sonam Saxena, 43, reported his wife Smritri missing on Tuesday, saying she vanished after an asthma attack during a stroll on a secluded beach. The couple were on vacation with their two daughters, aged 13 and 8, to celebrate their eldest child's birthday. Yeah, remember when you turned 13 and your parents flew you to Hawaii? Remember that? Yeah, that was a great. I remember when I turned 13 and my mom, Smutri, and my dad, Sonam, flew me to Hawaii to celebrate my 13th birthday. Oh, it gets better. A trip they are said to make every year. So it's not just this birthday, every birthday. Every birthday, my parents, they same thing basically. I mean, you know, pretty much went to Hawaii every year with me, every year. The Harvard educated Saxena was arrested a few hours after a body was found Wednesday near, I can't say that Hawaiian word, Bay in South Kohola. I don't know Hawaiian stuff. I don't know. Sorry. Near where she vanished. Anyway, long story short, what I'm getting at here is you look at this guy's LinkedIn, and I know I'm sorry. I'm bad with visual aids on streams. I really should do some kind of screen share type of thing. I don't have it set up, and I'm just not going to do it. But you're going to have to take my word for it here. So, Sonam, you look at his LinkedIn, and let's take a little look-see at the jobs Americans won't do. Okay? So, from August 2018 to present, we'll see how long that lasts, he was head of product for Google Cloud deployment. Okay, that's fair, though. I don't think, as an American, that I'd want to be head of product for Google Cloud deployment. I mean, it's kind of a job that Americans won't do, you know? Before that, for 3 years, he was a senior director of product management at Skykick in Seattle. Okay, well, I don't know what Skykick is, but so it's probably some shit job I wouldn't want to do. I mean, they say senior director. It's probably just some title they wanted to give him so that he'd feel better about himself, and so they wouldn't have to pay him, because they're always underpaying these people doing the jobs that Americans won't do. That's really what we hear all the time, right? That's what we hear all the time. They're just, it's like slave labor for the oligarchs. It's just that's what they want to do is underpay these people. So they bring in this guy Sonam Sexna, and give him the job of senior director of product management, which is just it's basically like cleaning toilets with a fancy name. Before that, I mean, it was whew, you think his job at Skykick was bad? Before that, he was at Microsoft from 2011 to 2015. He was a group product manager. So obviously that's just like some made up title where it's just he was probably in the fields that Microsoft owns, picking oranges, and it's no one's going to do that job. We got to bring these people in. No one's going to want to go in the sun for Microsoft and pick oranges all day. That's ridiculous. Now, if you rewind a little bit further, you see that in 1996 he started going to Mumbai University. So obviously he's from India, right? And he went to Mumbai University from 96 to 99. And then he went to Harvard and got his MBA. So, and I don't know all the specifics of how that was funded or how that all came together, like why a place at Harvard was given to someone from India as opposed to someone from Indiana, or how many taxpayer dollars might have gone into getting someone from India to go to Harvard instead of someone from Indiana. But this is a problem that goes back decades. And yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't have anything to do with him probably killing his wife. That's not the point. The point is, we have this guy come from India, go to our school, go to Harvard, and do all these jobs on a visa, presumably, that if there's a problem with Americans being able to do these jobs, if there's a reason, like a real reason, that it's a job that Americans won't do, It's because all of the American resources are going into supporting people like Sonam Saxena. You understand? It's because when our kids go to an elementary school, the elementary school teachers are having to teach in like 3 different languages. And they're having to lower the curriculum to cater to the lowest common denominator. And if you have people coming into the country with an average IQ of 65 and all that the government schools care about is passing kids so they get the next crop of kids and pass them, what do you think that curriculum is going to look like? You think that curriculum is going to look like something that's going to prepare kids to go to Harvard, to have the kind of life that Sonam Saxena had before murdering his wife? Well, allegedly. You see, this is, and it only snowballs, okay? It only gets worse. Because the more kids that you pump out of these schools that aren't capable of getting into Harvard, and some of that's not just because of ability. We all know what's going on with that loss, or if you maybe you don't. So there's an Asian, what is it? It's a student union, or it doesn't matter. It's some kind of it's a group representing Asians is all that really matters, right? And they are suing Harvard because Asians are not let in at the rate that they should be if you just look at the test scores. And it's because instead of letting in the Asians, they're letting in the demographic, which also does most of the teaching and administration positions at Harvard. You know, fellow white people. Wink, wink. So they're suing because that nepotism doesn't just... That's the problem, is when you have in-group preference like that, the nepotism, it spreads to every aspect of life. And generationally, there's a huge impact that can have, and that's what we're seeing right now. To where now it's literally that it's not a trope to say that certain groups control most of media, most of education, most of government. A tiny minority. It's amazing what you can do when you have in-group preference. So the eugenics program that's going on in America right now, that's been going on since the 60s, is to get your children and make them less successful. Because your children, see, what do we talk about when we talked about what eugenics was? It's that you look at people that have traits, or animals that have traits that you want to promote, and you breed them, and then they make more animals that have those traits. And if you have animals that have traits you don't want, then you do things that prevents them from breeding. What do you think's going on right now? It's not an accident. I think people have been using the wrong term. They've been saying, "Oh, it's genocide. It's genocide." I'm going to rephrase that. It's not the wrong term. It's a less precise term. Because the real term I would say is eugenics. Because they are doing selective breeding. And look at the media. If you look at my Instagram page, which is, at least for right now, still up. We'll see how long that goes on. It's fascinating. I was talking to someone on Instagram that had sent me like a thing to post. And they had no idea I had a YouTube channel. And it's like... It's crazy to me that there's so many people. I think I have like 30,000 followers on Instagram, and lots of them have no idea I have a YouTube channel. And some of you guys might not even know that I have a Instagram, but that's less important to me. But I don't really care about that. But anyway, what was my point? See, I derailed myself. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. So on my Instagram, something I've chronicled a lot is everyone has seen the Stone Toss Burgers cartoon. Now, the cartoon, if you haven't seen it, is there's two guys. One's at an ad agency, or he's like a marketing guy, and one guy is like an executive sitting in a chair, and the marketing guy, lifts up reveals what he had, the artwork that he has on an easel, and it's like this white girl and this black guy, making out basically. And then like the company logo is like really small in the corner. And one guy says to the other guy, "How is this supposed to help us sell burgers?" And the other guy goes, "Burgers?" And you see, because as we all know now at this point, it's a very clever way of pointing something out that we all know and we've seen over and over. They don't care about the money. They don't care about the product. When you're a monopoly, you don't have to anymore. When you're the only company or one of the three and the other companies are actually owned by your parent company, people don't have a choice. It doesn't matter anymore. Or when you're a company like Apple where you've got enough money to where you could just lose billions every year for the next 10 years and you'd be good to go. They don't care. So what they're doing is they're doing social engineering to create. It's future proofing. It's eugenics. They are trying to create consumers that have the traits that they want. All right, I want you to think about that. And it's not just these private companies doing it. It's government too. Governments want to have the consumers that have the traits that they want. They want to promote the breeding of the consumers that have the traits that they want, and the people that have the traits they don't want you breeding at all. We all see it. Everyone sees it. The system is specifically set up in a eugenic fashion. It's set up to where if you play ball, you play by the rules, you shut the fuck up. You push the buttons they tell you to push. You pull the levers they tell you to pull. You go work for the company making widgets for the oligarch. And you don't rock the boat. You know who I'm describing, right? A lot of boomers. But a lot of other people too. A lot of Gen X, a lot of millennials, and yes, even Zoomers, who want to be the alpha slave. They want to be the alpha slave. And so they're selected. The system selects them for breeding because they have the traits that keep the system going. And this guy from India is a perfect example of that. An American should have had that job. Should have. All those jobs. Why'd we have to import some guy from India? If we really can't fill these tech jobs, like if that's, I don't believe that's real, but let's say it is real. Let's say, we need 20,000 people, and there's no way there's not 20,000 people that can do these jobs. Why? It's kind of like with the when people talk about replacement, it's not even that we need the 20,000 people to do these jobs. When they take it a step further and be like, oh no, white people aren't having kids, so we need to bring in these people that just to do any job, doesn't have to be the tech job, just any job, because we're running out of people. Why? Because the eugenics program has been driving down the birth rates for decades. That's why. So I just really it was really frustrating and disappointing to see Molyneux kind of go this direction with it, where he talked about like, oh, no, government, you don't want it. It's already going on, man. It's already going on. It's been going on for decades. That's the reality. And that's why we need to talk about it. That's why it is important to tell people, look, this works. And we need to oppose it on a moral stand, like, the way that, now I don't necessarily agree with that, by the way, because I think that anything you do is going to be eugenic to someone, right? Anything you do is going to be eugenic, because anything that you do, any regulation that you put in place is going to favor a group. And it's going to make it easier for them to procreate. And already that's eugenic. The problem is the groups that we're enabling to procreate at the expense of other groups, making it harder for them to procreate because they're paying for the other groups that are procreating. But eugenics works. It's working right now. And yes, we do need to have this discussion because there's a lot of people who don't even believe in it. There's a lot of people who don't, perfect example. Well, no, I'm not going to bring it up. But there's people that refuse to even admit that there are genetic differences that could, here's the funny thing. There's people that are otherwise very intelligent who will tell you that intelligence is can't possibly be genetic. But it's weird because they won't tell you that, like, so for example, skin color, like everyone loves, race is only skin deep. Well, no, it's not, but that's one aspect of it, right? No one disagrees with that, right? That skin color is genetic. No, I don't think anyone disagrees with that. I guess there's that one trans black lady that might disagree with that, but by and large, no one disagrees with that, right? Well, that's just one relatively minor thing that when it comes to your ability to procreate and survive and have more children, right? So why would that be genetic? Why would the tone of your skin, which you could obviously it's going to improve your rate of survival if you have more melanin in your skin and you're in like a sunny area, or for example, one of the things you're seeing in Europe right now is a lot of these migrants who come from Africa or wherever they come from, where it's not cloudy and rainy all the time like it is in Europe. They're having basically year-round vitamin D deficiency and the seasonal. I hate that this is a thing, but you know what I'm talking about, like what is it? Seasonal affective. It's SAD. They have a case of SAD, but there's some truth to that, right? So they're not designed to be in those environments. But the thing is, what's going to affect your ability to reproduce more? Is it going to be that you might get like skin cancer or like a sunburn, or you might get SAD? Or is it going to be your IQ being 65 versus like 110? I mean, not even to mention that the brain is just another organ, guys. It's not just another organ either. It's the most expensive organ in your body. Obviously. it's going to have to believe that every other part, every other organ in your body is genetic except for one. I mean, no one really believes that. That's the thing. That's why you know it's a eugenics program. Is no one actually believes that. No one. Not Stefan Molyneux. There's probably boomers from, that went through, here's the thing. If you went through the civil rights movement and you went through all that programming with, I have a dream and all that nonsense. Yeah, you might actually believe it. You might. But not if you think about it for longer than 10 minutes. It's just that you've never been asked to think about it. And the people at the top have thought about it. You don't get to the top without understanding things like that. And they understand it. And they're doing what they're doing because they understand it. Because it's eugenics. And that eugenics trickles out into every aspect of your life. I don't know if you've noticed this or not. It depends on how old you are, I think, and how much you've been interacting with just the average people. People, store clerks, postal workers. Just people that you have to deal with face to face, right? The competency level has been dropping like a fucking rock. And not just the competence, I would say just the ability to communicate is dropping like a rock. That's eugenics at work. And that filters into every aspect of your life, and it makes your life harder, which makes you less effective, which makes you less dangerous. And that like I said, it's maybe right now all it is okay, more of your packages get lost. Your pizza delivery driver can't find your apartment because he can't read. And I'm being serious. I'm not I'm not joking around here. Maybe it starts like that, right? But then it starts turning into, now it's your surgeon cuts the wrong place. Now, your pharmacist gives you the wrong medication. The cop, as we saw the Somali cop that just shot the lady who called the cop. Like, this lady called the cops. I don't remember what it was about, but it wasn't like, oh, hurry, quick, bring your guns. And she walked out to the car because she saw the cop car that she called. The guy just blasted her in the face. I mean, it's going to keep going in that direction where every aspect of your life just gets harder and harder and harder, and it's going to compound. There's so many things that go into, just like if you just order a package off Amazon, just think of all the different people involved in getting that package to you. And now lower like all of their IQs by 20. And, it's one of those things where, like, the system could handle, like, maybe a weak link here and there. It's designed to have some redundancy. It's designed to handle human error. But when there's multiple failures in this chain, you got airplanes falling out of the fucking sky. And that's happening. Anyway, I'm going to read Super Chats because that's what I'm going to do. I'm done ranting. It's been an hour of ranting. And then I'm going to call it a night and make like 1,000 Twitter accounts maybe. And just, by the way, I'm going to add this. What I meant by the Twitter being a microcosm of the larger problem, the larger system. The same thing applies, right? Just as, like, it's no longer my opinion. Well, no, it's not just my opinion. It's no longer in reality immoral to follow rules like that, or to not follow rules like that, because they're not holding up their end of the bargain. Twitter is not holding up their part of the contract, so the contract is no longer valid. Okay, so how does that apply to government? The people who are giving their consent to be governed are doing so with a couple assumptions. They're assuming that the law is going to be applied equally to everyone. Well, that's a big one, if not the big one. And that's part of the social contract. We allow you to administer this country. We allow you, because we outnumber them. We vastly outnumber them. And we allow them to have their positions of power and their titles and their private jets and their trips to Hawaii every year, because their end of the contract is they are supposed to be in this position of authority, and for it to be valid, they need to apply the law equally to everyone. Well, they're not doing that anymore, are they? So I don't see how it's immoral. I honestly don't, and I'm not saying, oh, let go and riot and let's be anarchists or whatever. But I mean, from a morality point of view, like, I don't see how it's immoral to not try to get away with stuff the same way that, I mean, apparently all of them do. It's, in fact, in a lot of ways, you're kind of the sucker if you don't. I mean, we're high trust people, but we are now in a low trust society. And if it's like if you're playing soccer, and if you always pass the ball to the other team and they only pass the ball to themselves, you're gonna fucking lose. You're gonna fucking lose. So I'm just saying that I'm making that observation, and you can make of that what you will. I'm just, from a morality standpoint, it's, and that's the funny thing is, in countries like India, that's how it works, or not even just India, Mexico, all these countries where you hear it's corrupt. That's what it is. America was very unique. Well, not just America. I guess a lot of European nations fit under this umbrella, where you have the high trust society, and there was just this understanding that, well, yeah, we don't tolerate behavior, no matter who's doing, if no matter who you are, if you, obviously, if you go back and revisit history, you see that this power has been abused for a really long time. But at least before, it was happening in the shadows, and now they're just openly defying the social contract. So they're basically telling you that, yeah, you're the sucker. You're the sucker if you play along, and they don't. Anyway, let's do super chats. How do I do that? I think I have to go to viewer activity. Here we go. Barry Ross gives 5 leaf bucks. Doesn't say anything. Appreciate it. Cosmonaut gives $2. Says, big channels can grow your subs fast on Telegram. Oh, well, I'm on Telegram. I don't like it, but I'm going to start using it more, I guess. I mean, I didn't like Twitter when I first started using it, and it started to grow on me, so maybe I just need the same thing, right? But yeah, I am on Telegram, BlackPilled on Telegram, so it should be easy to find. Definitely, if you have Telegram, join my channel or follow me. I don't know how I don't know the terminology. And if you don't have Telegram, it's a free app. You can get it. Lots of people are on it, by the way. Lots of people that are banned from other platforms are on it. Big Chris, $5. Just got your book. I'm halfway through. I'm liking it so far. We'll leave a review on Barnes and Noble when I finished. Uh, did you go to any writers groups? I don't know what a writers group is, but so no. But I really would appreciate if you go to Barnes and Noble and leave a review, because I had on Amazon like 250 good reviews and maybe like 5 bad reviews. And on Barnes and Noble, I've got like no reviews because everyone reviewed it on Amazon. Why would they? And so if you have the time, don't go out of your way, or fuck it, go out of your way, go to Barnes and Noble and leave an honest review. If you liked it, if you don't like it, leave a review. Just because it's sad to see all those reviews go away. Love your book. Will there be a part 2? Yeah, there is, and it's. I know I've been behind on that. It's very close to done, but it's one of those things, and movies are the same way, where like the last 10% takes like 90% of the time. Like you put all this work into it, and it's like it's kind of cohesive, and it's like, and then obviously I've had a lot of this other shit kind of happen, and but yeah, it is one of my top priorities right now. I've just had a lot of homestead stuff to do because spring's here, and I'm trying to get everything planted, and the rains have been hitting. In fact, I was kind of concerned my internet wouldn't last tonight, because when the storms are real bad, sometimes the internet eats it. And so far, so good. It hasn't really started storming though, but that's the forecast. And I got my roof, I think, fixed finally. PC Cooper, $20, appreciate it. Lord Wolfshield, $10. Hey Devin, I'm very excited for you to make a Day of the Rope movie. Maybe you should reach out to White Art Collective for help. He has a lot of artists that could contribute. Yeah, I actually, I don't think I've ever talked to him, but I watched him. It might have been like a interview or on a stream or something. I don't know. I'll find out how to do that now that my Twitter's gone. But that's not a bad idea. Wildburn, $2. What a right-wing version of the Doors workout. What do you mean, like the band? Yeah, I mean, yeah, right-wing version of all media would work out. I mean, because it worked. It worked. The left has been. I mean, the culture has been. I don't want to keep saying the left. You know what I'm talking about. The culture was subverted a long time ago, and slowly but steadily, and it worked. Because culture is culture informs policy. In fact, one of the reasons why none of this stuff is in the shadows anymore, where all this corruption is in the wide open, because how many people do you know are mad about it? I mean, aside from the people that are also like politically involved, how many people do you know are actually upset by the corruption in Washington? I mean, nobody. So that you need, because their culture doesn't care about corruption anymore, or politics. A lot of people don't even pay attention beyond like orange man bad or orange man good. You know what I mean? Like, so it's culture is the most important thing right now. And let's see here. Cynthia Graves, $2. Love your book. I appreciate it, Cynthia. You should tell that to Barnes and Noble. Brandon Allen, $10. Thank you. Rico USA, 1999. Thank you for what you do. I can never look at movies. At the movies you feature the same way again. I had no idea what was being communicated, propaganda, etc. I now understand why my grandfather swore off Hollywood propaganda in the 70s. Good for him. Yeah, You know, it's one thing. All right, so I'm still working on the Simpsons thing because, good lord, there's so many episodes. Like, and I'm seriously, I've been watching so many. I'm still doing it. It's just there's so. You can imagine, like, every season is something like 22 episodes. Each episode is like 20 minutes if you shave off the intro and stuff. Um, there's 30 seasons. So there's just hours and hours and hours of Simpsons. And more than anything else, one of the things that really uh, like stuck out to me was the Simpsons, at least in the older ones, like in the 90s ones, a lot of their family life is, well, even just in the intro, their whole the episode starts with them sitting on the couch in front of the TV, and most of the episode is them sitting on the couch in front of the TV. And it's kind of crazy if you think about it. Like in the 90s, people were sitting on the couch in front of a TV watching cartoon characters sitting on a couch in front of a cartoon TV. But that really illustrates right there, that visual. That was what was happening in the 90s. And that's how effective. That's why it was so effective, because it was everywhere. That's just what people did. Now it's the internet more than it's TV, and you got to be more like Johnny on the spot because you're going to have it's Netflix. I guess you still have things that are like TV, but you have a lot of subversive. Just like the Young Turks, even stuff like that. Where it's not TV. It's like, or I guess like someone that's on the other side would call my channel subversive and bad, because there's so many, because of YouTube and because of and BitChute. Make sure you go to BitChute, follow me on BitChute, because who knows how long this is going to last. And DLive, go to DLive, follow me on DLive. But because you have all these outlets and you have all these people and it's a lot of chaos. It's not as it's another thing that's been, I think, fracturing our culture. Because the one thing, at least, and I don't think this is a good thing, but it's a important thing. The one thing that having all of the citizens in America sitting on their couch watching TV did was, at least we had. I mean, it's kind of stupid that that's what it was, but we had a shared culture. I mean, it was TV, but we were all watching like the same 4 channels. You know what I mean? Like, and watching like the same 3 big movies every year. So whether you lived in Nebraska, New Jersey, New Mexico, you were watching the same stuff, and so you could go to like any part of the country, and a lot of the pop culture stayed the same, and the same thing with, again, I'm not saying this is good. I'm just saying it's an important difference between now and even just like a few decades ago. And then you had like all the chain restaurants where it was like, it wasn't even like you were really going anywhere. So like, if you were in Albuquerque and you went to a McDonald's or a Walmart, it's the same as going to Minnesota, and going to, a Minneapolis McDonald's or Walmart. You know what I mean? So we had like this centralized capitalist saccharine culture, but at least it was unified. I mean, it was kind of awful. It still is. I mean, everyone knows it's awful, and it's, in retrospect, way more awful than I ever perceived it as I was experiencing it then. But at least it was unified, and we don't even have that anymore. So we have all these people from all around the world in the country that are maybe even watching. Like if you're this guy, if you're what's his name, Sonam Saxena, the Indian guy who allegedly killed his wife while on vacation in Hawaii, guy that works at Google, then you might not even be watching American media. You might be consuming Indian YouTubers or whatever, and might not even have your finger on the pulse of anything. And in fact, that's something about if you think about assimilation, where if you came to America from Mexico in like 1980, you didn't have Univision, you didn't have Telemundo, you didn't have that stuff. You had that same unified culture that I'm talking about, is as fake and plastic as it was. You still had it, and it was as much as it was being used to actively subvert everyone. At least it was kind of it was assimilating the newcomers into the program, if you will. So at least there was some commonality. I mean, I don't know. It's a very complicated thing, but just there's a lot to unpack there that would take. Maybe I'll have to go drill down into this more later. Let's go to the next one here. Minister of Propaganda and Indoctrination gives $5. Have you heard of the movie Under the Same Moon? The messaging is so blatant it's funny. I have not, but I'm going to copy that and paste it into my notes. You know what I did see? I was going to do it. It's kind of an obscure movie. Maybe if there's any Australians listening right now, there's a movie where this guy bangs a 13-year-old. Like, that's like the whole movie is him. It's like the Australian Lolita, which is disturbing in itself, but like it's from like 1962 or something. Like, it's so old. It's there's something weird about boomers and like banging 13-year-olds. Like, there's a lot of movies like that from then when they were in the 70s. Anyway. Don Browning gives $20. I just received Day of the Rope here in Australia. Oh, speaking of Australia, look at that. Well, I'm glad that you were able to get it out there. I heard people were having trouble getting it outside the U.S., so that's good. Koala Garage Submissions gives $2. Can you do that 70s show MLK vid for BLK history? Yeah, that would be a good one. I was never a big fan of that show. I forgot that it even existed. I'd have to look and. The thing about shows, I don't think I've already. It's too late on The Simpsons. I've already said I'm going to watch all of them, so I'm going to finish it. No, I don't think I'm ever going to do that again, unless it's something that isn't like that long. Like if it's only like a few seasons, I can't do this again. It's just too much. And then the problem is, like, I'll kind of like, it's like when I get audiobooks, I do the same thing where eventually, because audiobooks are so long, you'll start doing other things. So you're like, oh, it's cool. Audiobooks are cool because I can like listen to it while I, garden or whatever, right? And then, but invariably, you mentally check out. Like, you mentally check out of the audiobook. And then you start to pay attention again, and you have no idea what the hell's going on. And you're like, what? What do you mean? Why does he have a knife? That's how it's been going on with the Simpsons stuff, where like I'll be like, well, all right, I vaguely remember this one. I'll just play it in the background while I, fix this shingle or on my roof or whatever. And then you're like, why is Homer an astronaut now? It's like, so it's real tough to power through these. But yeah, the 70s show, that'd be interesting because it was, yeah, I mean, it's literally rewriting history, I guess. Be interesting to see how like the 90s was telling you the 70s was like. Because like I said, I mean, I obviously I remember that the show existed, but I never really watched it. Daniel Bull, 2PUSA announced new tour dates. Prepare for war, groypers. Make a plan. Remember good optics. P.S. I'm sorry about the censorship. No big deal. Like I said, I don't care. I really don't care. Like, if I'm sad about anything, it's that and culture was following me, and that's going to be tough to pull that again. That's about it. I mean, like, I'm sure, like, it would be nice to have, because I had that account forever. I mean, I made it before the election, so I guess all that history is gone, and that kind of sucks. But whatever. Whatever. Life goes on, and yeah, keep hounding TPUSA. And I wouldn't even just limit it to TPUSA. We need to start hounding just politicians, honestly. I mean, in a non-violent way, but you gotta let them know that they're not doing their jobs. You need to impose some costs, and that's what when you go and harass TPUSA, you're imposing costs. I don't know how effective it'll end up being in the big scheme of things. If nothing else, though, it's certainly entertaining, and I think it is effective in terms of I don't think you're changing their minds, but people that might have been like, oh, Charlie Kirk, he seems like a cool guy, and then he's that person that would maybe normally think Charlie Kirk or TPUSA is like, oh, that's what it means to be a conservative. I guess I'll just put this Israeli dick in my mouth now. Those people when they see when you reveal these people for who they are, you're kind of peeling away those people and bringing them into the fold. So I think it's effective in that way. I mean, I don't think you're ever going to change because Charlie Kirk is Trump's boy. So Wild Burn, drink turpentine. Grabbler's BTFO. I'll probably not be drinking turpentine. KGS, $2. Watch Attic on Titan. It's super based and Berserk 2. Attic on Titan. All right. I don't know what that is at all, but I'll add that to my list of things to look into. Cantool, $2.99. Thank you. Capital Emergency Response Training, $50. Wow, that's very generous of you, and I really appreciate that. And yes, I am the shit. So, really appreciate. Something I was gonna do, by the way. Speaking of being the shit, is in my. I don't know how much I want to reveal here. In my earlier days, I was slightly musically inclined in a comedic way, in a very vulgar comedic way on the internet. And if you want to see how the internet has changed in just like 10 years, if you go back and look, maybe someday I will play you some content that I made many moons ago that was totally acceptable and normal in the context that of the internet of the time, that now would ban me from like every platform ever and get me arrested in several countries. I mean, it's changed so much in such a short period. It's depressing. Someone said on Instagram, I'm not going to say exactly what they said, but I think you'll understand. They said, what we need is we need an internet that's just for us. And I said, that was the internet before iPhones. Because it was. There was a barrier. There was like you must be this smart to get on this ride, on the internet before. You had to be smart. And not just smart. There was a cost also, like a monetary cost. So you had to be smart and either... because computers were everywhere. So I don't want to say you had to be like middle class, but it helped. Like you could be poor and I mean, even I didn't have a computer. I mean, I had an old computer. I had like I didn't have a new computer. And so I often had to go use the computers in the library at school and stuff like that. And that's how I used computers for a little while. And so you had to be motivated to do that. But as soon as the iPhones came out, the IQ of the internet dropped like 30 points. And the gender of the internet. Which I think those two things go hand in hand. But I think, all of a sudden, you think of it this way. Internet dating used to be weird. Like now it's funny because now every like if you know all the thoughts love Tinder, like all it's all these women, all the whores are on Tinder now. Uh, it used to be you were like the weird guy if you used OK Cupid. You know what I mean? Like OK Cupid's been around for goddamn ever, but it was still like it wasn't normal to do that. People were embarrassed. Like people would make up stories about how they met because they didn't want to say the internet. And that wasn't that long ago. I mean, it's changed pretty fast. Uh, Mika Robinson, 1999, Boondock Saints. That's a good one. You know, that's more. I mean, I haven't seen it for a really long time, but more than anything, the story behind why the sequel took something like 20 years to come out. Uh, I just remember the short version. The guy who directed that wasn't a Hollywood guy. He was just like some random guy. And then it ended up being way more successful than they thought. And they thought like, oh, this is the new Quentin Tarantino, but he got like really weird. Like he was like, it all went to his head, and so he was like demanding like all this money and like treating people like shit and just turn into like this monster. And no one wanted to produce the second one, and then they eventually did. I haven't seen it, but I didn't even know they ever did it because for the longest time it was just assumed it was never going to get made. And then I think fairly recently they made the sequel, but I haven't seen it. But yeah, that was a good movie if I remember correctly. I haven't seen it since it was new. Um, Quinn Murph gives 9/11 and tells me that all I had to do was be a good little boy and stay quiet. I know. That's all I had to do. See, that's the thing too is that it's if you there's a digital eugenics going on too. See, they're basically trying to stop my ability to have my memes procreate online and increase CNN's ability to have their memes procreate. And it might sound silly, but that's real. I mean, it's digital eugenics. It's thought eugenics. Cynthia Graves, $2. You're the best. I appreciate it. No, Cynthia, you're the best. Rich, $2. What mic might you recommend? I'm not using it right now. I'm just using a gaming headset because that's what I use when I'm doing streams, so I can have headphones on. I have a blue, or the Yeti Snowball, like that, pretty much like everyone has. The blue Snowball, just like the white round microphone. I do have a studio microphone, like a good studio microphone and like a whole recording studio kind of a thing, but it just takes up a lot of space, and it's just not. I have so many things to do with the bunker to get it livable that's like really low on my list. So I just use my gaming headset and my blue. All the Yeti microphones are really good, I think. And the Snowball's cheap, or at least I don't remember it being expensive. I think it's like maybe like $60 or something. EuropeanHomelands.com, $5 checkout. I can't even read what that is. It looks like Blonde Ugg at Nix.com. Okay. Sun State 88, $2. Have you seen the 1916 film The Golem? No, but I'm going to now. That sounds awesome. I'm gonna copy and paste that into my notes. Yeah, 1916, huh? That's old. That's like really old because isn't Metropolis like 1918? That's really old. Love Tolerance, $2. Do you have an email with which I can contact you? Uh, yeah, Evil Hillary at protonmail.com. But if it's to submit a clip, it's the rope movie at protonmail.com. Let's see here. James K, $2. Stack, keep on rocking in the free world. Yes. Kilo Blunton. Any military footage needed? Yeah, I mean, that would be cool if you could think of a way, or if you've got footage from when if you were overseas and you've got like cool stuff that you own. You know what I mean? That isn't us just stealing from a YouTube video or something like that. That'd be cool. You know, if you could trim it down a little bit, because to just like the cool stuff or things that you think would fit, that could be cool. I don't know that it'll be a big part of the story because but it might be cool. Like they have the NSA guy like browsing through all the different stuff and maybe show some highlights or something like that. That could be cool. Sublin 199. Day of the Rope Part 2 when? Yeah, I wish I had a date for you guys. I'm trying real hard to get that out soon. Best I can do. I know. I've been saying that for a long time, and but it's like I said, it's the last 10% that takes the longest. The thin red line. I don't know what these are. What are DKKs? Well, you gave me 100 of them. That sounds big. I hope it's a lot. I know it's not Deutschmarks, right? Because they use euros now. I have no idea what DKK is. Anyway, or is that Danish? That's got to be... No, I don't know what that is. Well, I appreciate it. 100 sounds like a lot. So thank you very much, the Thin Red Line. And let's see what you say here. Devin, if you are still thinking of making your movie, you should contact the White Art Collective. All right, you're the second person to tell me to do that. So I'm definitely going to do that. And I'm actually going to copy that and paste that to my notes too so I don't forget. White Art Collective. Yeah, because the other thing about the movie is we don't just need we need those clips, obviously, but, movie posters, stuff like that. Let's do it. I want to do it right. I want it to be like a real movie. Pravos, Philnitz, $50. Very generous. I really appreciate that. Wish I could send my actual super chat. Oh, well, here's a few bucks. Send your actual. I don't know what that means, but oh, I see what you're doing. You've sent me multiples. I really appreciate that. And then someone gave $1.99 and said, "I'm consuming." And Pravos, Pilnitz, once again, $50. Almost every immigrant coming over from Central America has a high interest loan that they use to fund their journey. Look into Comparamos Bank in Mexico. 53% return on investment for 7 years compounded for these international bankers. That is an angle I hadn't really thought about. I mean, it's true that you hear, it takes the average family, $5,000 or, whatever it is, right, to pay the coyotes to smuggle them across the border. But you never, hear where that money comes from. That's very interesting. And in any part of town, if you lived anywhere where there's a significant illegal immigrant presence, you'll know that there's these Western Unions and check cashing places all over the place because they've got stolen identities. They can't have bank accounts, and so they have to go to check cashing places. And then, look who owns the check cashing places. And then once they get the cash, they can then send that over a Western Union or wherever or whatever service they use to get it to Mexico. So yeah, there's people taking a cut all the way down the line. I mean, it's the employers, it's the banker. I mean, it's a lot of people that should literally be in jail or worse. But no one does anything about it. So, but yeah, that's very interesting. Oh no, this thing like freaked out on me. I'm gonna have to scroll up again a bunch. Okay, here we go. $2. I'd rather be free and poor. Well, that's what I am right now. And you're right. Animatronic, $5. The left's term for policies that drive differential birth and death rates is biopower, coined by Michael Foucault. College courses on it. Yep, there you go. Uh, Bird Must Feed, $4.99. It recently came out that Mike Bloomberg quite clearly knew about the race and crime statistics. I saw that clip. Many of these people obviously know what's going on. Yes, they all know what's going on. All of them do. EuropeanHomelands.com, $5. Until we become brave, organized warriors, we will continue to be treated like the passive, isolated cowards that we are. We must revolt. You know, yeah, I think something. I'm not going to say anything. Lazarus, $2. Privatize the gains, socialize the losses. I'm not sure specifically what you were talking about there. Clark Smith, $50. Very generous. I appreciate that, Clark. Hi, Devin. Just curious, are you a film noir fan? If so, what are your favorite noir films, actors? Thanks for the Mr. Smith Goes to Washington video. That was a great and enlightening, great enlightening. Thanks for all you do. I mean, I can't say that I am. I watched a lot of black and white films when I was younger because my mom liked them, and it was before Netflix and stuff, so I just had to watch what my mom liked. But she wasn't really into film noir. I have a bunch of movies on DVD, believe it or not. That's one thing that's weird. Carl's house had a lot of DVDs in it, and a lot of it was film noir. So Carl was a big fan of film noir. For those of you who remember the Carl video, I haven't thrown the DVDs away because there's some movies that I don't have that I was thinking maybe I should rip before I throw them away. Eagle-Eyed, $20. Would you be interested in proofreading a movie script? My dad's story, I want it to have depth. I can't seem to offer. I wish I could. I just don't have time. What I would do if you're just trying to write like a screenplay that you want to actually get produced, I would. First of all, that's really tough to do. You pretty much, it's almost like, someone says, how do you get into finance? Well, you're born into finance. It's kind of how it is in Hollywood at this point. At this point, if you're not going to produce it yourself, it's not going to go anywhere unless you know someone or your family knows someone. If you want it to have depth, honestly, it's an interesting story. If you think it's interesting, and as long as, I would have, friends read it, or if they're not going to read it, because a lot of people are going to tell you they don't have time to read a script. At least do the outline, do the elevator pitch. If the elevator pitch and an elevator pitch is what you can explain, or explaining an entire script in the time that you would share an elevator ride with someone. So you have a couple minutes, you're stuck in this elevator with someone, boom, here's my story. And if you can do an elevator pitch that's compelling, it's easy to turn that into a script. Well, not easy, but it's easier. And as long as you stay within the elevator pitch, you make it. If you can make it sound exciting in like 3 minutes, you can make it be exciting in like an hour and a half, and then shoot it. And if it's crap, because most everyone's first movie is crap, you probably learned a lot, and then you can move on to the next one. Cosmonaut, $2. COVID-19 will drop world economy, spark revolution. Yeah, it could. I mean, I've been saying I'm kind of just doing a wait and see on the virus stuff, because there's been so many viruses in the past, where they were, it's gonna take over. This is, I mean, I know people don't people have like the memory of a goldfish, but there was SAR, and I know this sounds like a lot worse than these, but they always make it sound like this one's different and this one's always worse. And this one is worse. It is worse. I'm paying attention to it. I'm not just, I'm keeping my eye on it because it could be bad. And it is sounding worse every day. But I'm still not certain it's going to be quite the pandemic that some people are hoping for. Is what it seems like. Sublin $4.99. If we get a Day of the Rope movie, can we get Sam Hyde as Ethan? No, he doesn't fit the. He does not fit the. I mean, he could be in it, I guess, but he does not fit the Ethan. Ethan is like the guy. I mean, if you've ever been to Washington D.C., he's like. There's like a bunch of carbon copy guys in Washington D.C. where if you go on the metro and just look at like young white guys wearing suits, and they all kind of blend together in like a Men in Black kind of a way, and that's Ethan. He's just like everybody else. Where if you're not paying attention, you won't even remember that he was there. Peter Jensen, very generous, $100. Thanks for all the free and entertaining yet depressing content. Keep it up. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna keep it up. Like I said, getting a Twitter ban is not discouraging to me at all. It's just more funny at this point. I mean, oh no, not Twitter ban. Oh, like. Come on, who hasn't been banned from Twitter at this point? If you haven't been banned from Twitter, then you're doing it wrong. All right. But thank you very much for your very generous donation, and that will help keep the... you're basically paying my internet bill for this month, so I appreciate that. Eagle-Eyed, $5. Funding is already intact. Interesting story about a trafficked Canadian boy to Hellwood in the 60s. Oh, you know what? What did you say before? I got to rewind here. Oh, that's your movie. Okay, that's your movie script. Yeah, that does sound really cool. But yes, again, sorry. I mean, I'm sure it's like if you've already got funding and stuff, that's awesome. I'm trying to finish book 2, and I just got like a million things. I just really can't. I mean, I'd love to help you out. That's nothing. I can't do that right now. But like I said, if you can make the elevator pitch and make it sound interesting, that's half the battle. The other thing is too, and there was a while. Everyone hates this book now. A few years ago, around in my LA friend circles, everyone was reading this book called Save the Cat. And it was basically how to make a formulaic Hollywood movie. And I remember at the time, all my friends are reading it and like, oh, you got to read it. It tells you how to write the perfect script. And because scripts, it's almost like music theory where like there is kind of a formula to a script. And you have to hit these points and do it in this specific order. Every movie that's been successful all does this, and there is some truth to that. But they got overboard with it, and there's even been articles written about how that book ruined Hollywood because then every movie started to be the same movie. That said, I would still read it because it has a lot of interesting insights. It's called Save the Cat. You can find it online, I'm sure. I would check that book out. It'd be really helpful to... but again, don't do what it says. But I mean, read that book and realize that almost everyone that's written a successful screenplay in the last... I don't know, it's been out like, I want to say like 10 years. Almost like the last decade. you'll see it. You'll see like, oh, this is what everyone read. So just don't fall into that trap. But that would be my advice. If you want, and also if you've got funding, there's writers that just punch up scripts. Like that's all they do all day. Where, and it doesn't cost a lot. You pay a writer you give them a script, and they just give it the oomph. So you can just look for people that do punch ups. Or if you want to do it yourself, I would read that book and work on the elevator pitch. Radio Ruin 199. Have you ever seen Apt Pupil? I feel like I saw that on a lot of drugs in the 90s. Because I remember it being advertised in theaters when my friend worked at a theater. And I could see free movies all the time. And I was doing a lot of drugs. So I think it's possible that I saw it. I mean, I know kind of that there's like somehow Nazis are involved. I think Sean Connery's in it or something. I'll add that to my list. J-Rod 33, $2. Opinion on Parasite. I don't know what Parasite. I can think of one Parasite. Ryan Hewer, $5. Charlie Kirk comes to KSU KSU, a university in my city, on March. What question should I ask him? Charlie Kirk comes to KSU. It's Charlie Kirk. So, I mean, because the questions that I'd want to ask Trump are not the same ones you'd want to ask Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, for example, like the stuff I'd want to ask Trump is stuff related to how no one's arrested and stuff like that. Charlie Kirk's not going to know anything about that, and neither is the audience. So if you're trying to do something where you have like a memeable clip out of it, I mean, you don't want to do, because that's the thing is Groyper's have already covered a lot of ground when it comes to trying to corner him, and he's going to be prepared for a lot of stuff. Because, so anything that you ask, like, don't ask him anything that has been asked to him of him already, because he's been coached on anything that they've asked him on already. I would, yeah, let me think. You could be funny and ask him about, you know what? This would be interesting. I don't know that, I mean, it's not probably the answer you want, but I would ask him about, I would say, how come President Trump has never mentioned Seth Rich? Just saying the name Seth Rich in a public forum like that it will get a response from the crowd, from the people who know, because even like the Donald types know who Seth Rich is, right? And so just bringing that up again, and I think the reason why it's important now, because people, what are you talking about, Devin? That's from like 2016. Yeah, well, first of all, Vince Foster's from the 90s, and he's still important. But the reason it's more current than you might think is I don't think we're going to get the prosecutions that we want at all. It's certainly not anything like, the QAnon stuff, right? But I don't know if you watched the president's... Trump was on with Hannity recently. And I think we're going to see something. I don't know what. It'll probably be a letdown. I'm just being honest. But they were talking... He mentioned the server. He said, why did the DNC send the server to the Ukraine, referencing CrowdStrike, for example. That was just the other day. So Trump is talking about the DNC server not being forensically looked at by the FBI on Fox News. So it's totally current. But again, why didn't Trump mention Seth Rich? He's never mentioned Seth Rich, but he's talking about that server right now. So it's not like, why would you drink? No, I think it's totally relevant, and it's an applause line, because even like the Donald and the Boomer style Republicans know who Seth Rich is, and they like him, and he's like a legend. And it is weird if all of those guys are going to think it is weird that Trump's never mentioned him. So I think that would actually be a good. I would try to frame it in a way to where he doesn't see it coming. Like, say, maybe even just say like what I said, like, Sean Hannity, or, President Trump appeared on Sean Hannity and he talked about the server, blah, blah, blah. We all know that the Russian interference story was a hoax. So like he's sitting there like he's going to hear this stuff thinking like, okay, this sounds like a softball. And then be like, why is it, knowing all that, and that Trump, or bring up Assange, or both. I would say, why is it that Trump has never mentioned Seth Rich when we all know that he was the source of the WikiLeaks emails? And why has Trump essentially acted as though he no longer knows who WikiLeaks is, and is not actively trying to get Assange freed using the State Department or whatever? I know it's not quite what you're thinking, but that's not something that Charlie Kirk's going to have an answer for, and it's going to, you can't lose with it, and you don't look like, he can't call you a Nazi for saying that stuff, you know what I mean? Anyway, MKOK 499, if done correctly, drinking turpentine can rid you of parasites. Oh, I have never researched any of that at all, so I don't know if that's true. I mean, I've heard of crazier things. Who knows? Wilburn, $2. Bears are drinking paint thinner. Cat goys rise up. All right, this sounds like this has to do with something. I have no idea what's going on. I think I'm missing something. J-Rod 33, $5. Opinion on Parasite movie. Is that the Mexican one? I don't think I saw a Parasite movie. But maybe that would be a good one to watch with the, and then compare it to what's going on. So I'm going to copy and paste that into my notes. And that would actually be a very relevant. There's a few movies like that where they have a pandemic. Not the zombie ones. The zombie ones are kind of like, wouldn't really relate too well. All right, so let's see here. For a moment, $2. Check out the movie Panic in Year Zero. I will add that to my list. Panic in Year Zero. I'm glad that you guys are giving me some of these, because after a while I get burned out trying to find good movies. Harris Walker, $2. Your Pleasantville video profoundly changed me. That's hopefully in a good way. Libby Young, $5. Mr. Roman, $5. Have you ever seen The Way of the Gun? Yeah. In fact, I love the first scene in that movie where they punch out Sarah Silverman. And I almost wanted to do, because I saw that movie in the theaters. It's kind of an older movie, like a 2000 or something like that. And even before I hated Sarah Silverman, that scene is just so epic. And the rest of it's kind of weird, because it's got like the weird the African guy that's cuckolding the billionaire, and but it's been I'd have to watch it again, because it's I that's the thing that sticks out, is Sarah Silverman just getting laid the fuck out like in the first couple minutes. In fact, the movie's worth watching just to watch that, because it's so funny the way they do it. And she's acting like how you would expect her to act in real life. I'm going to add that to my... you guys are making my list long here. I'm going to add Way of the Gun. I know I have it. I just haven't seen it in forever. Okay. Yep, once the migrants get here, they start taking out loans. This is huge incentive for them. Yeah, makes sense. Red Eye 999. Appreciate it. Matt V, $2. Can I mod for you? You have bots all over the chat. Well, I don't know who you are, but you gave me $2. So as long as you're not a psycho, how do I do that? You know what? My thing's locked up. I'm gonna make a note. I will mod you, but I can't click on anything right now. Oh, now I got the spinning beach ball of death. All right. I might have to refresh the page, and I don't know if that's going to screw this up. Oh, I got my cursor back. Okay. All right, Matt V. I think you have to say something in normal chat. Say something in normal chat, Matt V. I know there's some lag here, so I'm going to try to keep an eye on that, and then I will do another one. JJ Rod 33, $5. Parasite is a movie about economic class inequality in Korea. Oh. I did not know that. I thought that was like, there was, maybe I'm thinking of one called like Infection or something like that. Theo Megaworthy, $5. Ask him how is he planning having a space force. Space is fake news. Gas pressure cannot exist next to a vacuum. Research flat Earth, real truth. I don't think that the Earth is flat. I think the just because of how I have to use ham radio stuff leads me to believe that the Earth is round, and I've explained it a bunch of different times, and it's just one of those things that by the way, I would just encourage you, and I'm not saying that I have proof either way, other than I have enough proof where like it makes sense to me with the ham radio stuff. The D90 or whatever that Nikon camera is, where people are saying, oh look, it shows that you can see further than you could because the curvature of the Earth would actually hide this. When I heard about that, I was very intrigued because if you've got proof of something that's hard to disprove, I want to check it out. And honestly, within like one Google search, I found, and yeah, Google, but whatever. I mean, I found just as many shots with that same camera showing the curvature of the Earth. Like, for example, people pointing it out to the ocean, and like half of a boat is underwater because it's behind the curvature of the Earth. So, to me, that evidence doesn't hold up because clearly there's something else going on, because there's just as many clips. Literally, there is. I mean, they're all over YouTube, and you can say they're fake. Okay, well, how do I know the other ones aren't fake? You know what I mean? And the thing is, if you know anything about ham radio and using directional antennas, you know that great circle maps, and that's another good video. Look up ham radio flat Earth on YouTube. There's a guy that goes into extreme detail about what I'm talking about. So, anyway. And then someone's giving me rubs. 299 rubs. All right. Is that rupees or rubles? It can't be rubles because it would be more money. Like my total would have gone up. I don't know. Maybe rubles aren't like a lot right now. I don't know what the exchange rate is. But whatever. I appreciate the 299 rubs. Radio Ruin 499. Yeah, people was about a teenager that figured out his neighbor is an escaped Nazi, and they become bros. All right, so it's just like the Amazon show that they're making, where they find out their neighbors are Nazis and they murder them. That's something that I'm gonna have to look at. I don't want to watch that the Hunter or Hunters or whatever that is that Amazon's making about hunting Nazis. I don't know. It's gonna be so awful. It's gonna be so bad. But I'm gonna have to watch it. It's gonna be worse than when I had to watch The Handmaid's Tale. Oh, it's gonna be so bad. Um, Here we go. And we got someone calling me a sphere cuck. Well, like I said, it there's no possible way that great circle maps would work, and they do, if the Earth was flat. They wouldn't work. They wouldn't work. Line of sight wouldn't work. And in terms of satellites, if you use ham radio, there's satellites you can use. And so for the people that say that satellites are fake, you can track them. It's not, you're not, in other words, you can track them. So you're not relying on a third party to tell you, oh no, it's our fake satellites. No, you can communicate with it. And you can point at it. It's so, and you can do the math to know where it's supposed to be. And again, it's something that it wouldn't work if the world was flat. And it just wouldn't work. And it does. And it's not, and this isn't because NASA told me, and it's not because anyone else told me. You can do it with equipment that you can have, that you can operate yourself, that you can understand what it's doing and how it's working. And for me, that's all the proof I need. And I don't see why it makes a difference, honestly, like for what we're, for the big scheme of things. It just seems like it's a weird thing that so many people fixate on it. Like I keep hearing like, oh yeah, but it makes me believe in God. It's like, well, you don't have a lot of faith in God then if you think that the only way like God can exist is if the world's flat. Like that doesn't make sense to me. Like it's never made sense to me that like somehow God is less likely to exist if the world's like round. Like I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense to me. And in a weird way, it's almost like the opposite, because if the world was like, and I can't believe we're talking about this because this is not my thing. But if let's just say like you knew that the world was flat or under a dome, in a way, like it's obviously something magic, right? That's making it work, because it's like at that point it's magic, right? Like if the world's flat and there's an edge, or if there's a dome or whatever, right? If there's at a certain point you have to come to the conclusion, okay, so magic is happening, right? And that, which is what a lot of people, I think, because they think, okay, well, that's why I believe in God more, because only in a world where God exists could this happen. Doesn't that defeat the entire purpose of faith? Like, because you're basically saying, oh, look, I've got proof that God exists. So in a weird way, you kind of have proof that he doesn't, because like the whole point of faith is that you never get proof. You know what I mean? Like, it's a paradox. So I don't think that, it doesn't make sense to me that you would need that, or that it would exist in that way. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's not my thing. It doesn't really matter to me, honestly. I don't, because for the average person, it's not going to affect you at all. It really doesn't. Which is why I don't see why there's so much interest in it. Because if the world was flat or round, unless you're like a satellite technician or something like that, it's never going to matter. It's literally never going to matter. It's never going to change anything in your life, one way or the other. And so I don't see why everyone's so hung up on it, because it's like, it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. I mean, even if I found out that there was some weird way that the Earth was flat, and then like I'm just completely retarded and don't know how like my radios work, or maybe there's like some new law of physics that I'm not aware of that explains it. Doesn't matter. I would be like, oh, cool, and like that'd be the end of it. That'd be it. I'd be like, okay, I guess it's flat. So what? Like, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything to me. I don't understand why it doesn't change anything to me. So anyway, I got a bunch of little ones I got to rewind up here. You're going to be able to afford NVGS from Super Chat. I don't know what NVGS is. Theo Megaworthy, $5. Research the black swan observation. Also, bottoms of boats disappearing is not seeing curve. Yeah, like I said, doesn't matter to me though. Like even if I found out it was flat, it won't change my life at all because it doesn't like the radios will still work as if it's round, you know. So like I can if I keep doing the math as if it's round, it's but it's really flat. I mean, it doesn't change anything for me. And God doesn't to me doesn't seem more or less likely based on either one. Um, and I'm never going to go to space or or try. So it just doesn't matter to me. My evidence leads me to believe that it's round, but it doesn't fundamentally change anything that's important to me. So it doesn't really. I know it's really important to a lot of people. To me, it's not. All right, MKOK 199. Please get a mod to patrol bot thoughts. I will. I'm gonna do that as I stream more. I apologize for like the horrible chat. I haven't even looked. I've just seen it streaming. Sublin one. I'll do it for the next one. I'll try to recruit some people. Sublin 199. Mossad is hacking your eyes. Take the flat pill. Green bastard. California or Canadian $5. Pilots use FE maps. Engineers don't calculate for curve when making long bridges. Yeah, like I said, doesn't even like I said, even if I found out it was flat, it doesn't change anything. Tipsy McStagger, $20. Can you do a review of Fight Club movie and book if you haven't already? Played into my awakening and understand the world. I love your content and insight. I sort of touched on Fight Club a little bit on a video. I might revisit it. I have to read the book. I have the book, but I have not read the book. Alec Wolf, $5. Which is better, Betsy Ross flag or Confederate battle flag? Well, the Confederate flag pisses more people off. Betsy Ross flag's kind of base, but there's not enough stars on it. So maybe the Confederate flag. Radio Ruin 499. Flat Earth is about discrediting legitimate question about how the world really works to make anyone that talks about it seem crazy. Yeah, I think that's possible. That's the thing is it doesn't move the football for me, and I know it scares other people away. It doesn't. I mean, I don't care. Like I said, it doesn't change me. I don't care. It could go either way, and it wouldn't bother me. But I know it freaks people out. So just from a persuasion standpoint, it doesn't help me to get into it because it just doesn't change anything for me. And all it does from a persuasion standpoint is from a prop because let's face it, we're here discussing propaganda. So from a propaganda standpoint, it's a dead end. Mike G, $10. It breaks the reality of your world. Biggest black pill. All the other lies fall into place. It's more for the mass thought, I believe. Flat realm. Maybe, but I don't think it really. I mean, maybe that's what it did for you, but for me, like I said, literally, if I had proof, like someone had a photo of the dome or whatever, I would just be like, huh, cool, and that would be it. So it wouldn't shatter my reality. I would the lies I care about are the lies that directly affect me, and I don't see how that directly affects me that much. Other than, like I said, it would be weird that it's flat and the round math works with radio. I'd wonder how that was possible. I'd want to know like how that worked. I'd be fascinated by that probably, but it wouldn't. Ryan MF, $2. Have you watched Focus with William H. Macy? I have not. I'll add that to my list. All right, we're winding down here. Matt V, Flat Earth, your thoughts on Bermuda Triangle? I had a book about the Bermuda Triangle when I was a kid, and I liked alien books and Bermuda Triangle. I liked like the spooky stuff. I think there might have been because uh, there was a there might have been like a military base or something like that, and they wanted to scare people away from it. So, all right, let's see here. Okay. Can I email you about being a mod? I've been a fan for years. Yeah, hit me up at uh, evilhillary at protonmail.com. I'll copy your message here. I'm just getting to this streaming stuff. And damn, Penelope Maynard, a friend of mine from Twitter, just gave a very generous $200. Says Twitter is a nightmare. You'll be missed. Well, I'll be back. I'll be back, Penelope. Well, I'm not. I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. You might not know when. You might not know where, but I'll be back. Yeah, I'm not gonna just give up because they just shot. I mean, that they have no authority over me. They can't keep the black pills off of Twitter. I'm like a hydra. Every head they chop off, two more will grow back in its place. I cannot be stopped. But thank you for the very, 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 very generous super chat. That is amazing. Hopefully, YouTube keeps my account going long enough for me to actually get that money. Oh boy, knock on wood. Bird Must Feed, $4.99. Ancient Greeks figured out the Earth was round 400 BC. You don't need to trust NASA. It makes your side look. We have Down syndrome. Total psyop. Yeah, I'm not a mathematician. I know what you're talking about. The Pythagorean. What's it called? I forget. But you know what I'm talking. I know what you're talking about. And yeah, that's the similar, if not the exact equation that you use for line of sight with VHF and UHF radios. So, I mean, again, I don't know why it matters. I don't know why it matters to people. Dick Justice, 20 knocks. I don't know what knocks are, but it sounds cool. Sounds kind of Asian-y, but maybe also kind of European-y. I don't know what that would be. But I like the knocks. Thank you for all your uploads. Love your work. Appreciate it, Dick Justice. Sounds like a porn star and a superhero at the same time. Purse Bear, $2. Twitter, why are you gay? Exactly. And last but not least, Theo, Megawordy, $2. Oh, another one came in. Flat Earth makes the globe pure propaganda, the lie. Okay, well, I guess. Alex Miller, $5. I am a ham too. What is your favorite band to operate in? Will you be on during Field Day this year? I love your content on films. You are very articulate. All right, appreciate it, Alex. You know, funny thing is, I mostly am not on the air. I'm mostly fixing old radios. When I do go on the air, it's usually to test them. And to try to learn CW, which I'm very slowly doing. In terms of which bands, it changes based on propagation. I'd like to get into 6 meters, but it's dead. But I've got some old 6 meter radios I'm trying to fix, and I've never made a contact on 6 meters. But, you know, like everyone else, probably 20, 40, 80, you know, because 10's dead too. And then I'm trying to get into moon bounce. See, that's going to really drive the flat Earth conversation back. You can bounce radio waves off of the moon to get way further than you could normally. And I know that's going to make people's heads explode, but we're not going to talk any more about flat Earth stuff. All right, I got a few more here. Half-Life Wife, $20. Thank you for your work. An exploration of all subjects. Loved your book. Over. 73. Roger that. Appreciate it. And Bird Must Feed, 199. Era, what is that? Eracenthis of Siren. Don't know what that means. But with that, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate the outpouring of support. But like I said, the Twitter ban does not bother me at all. It just reinvigorates me to try harder, and it shows me that I'm over the target. And if you're not getting banned from Twitter, you're not doing it right, or you will be. And they just haven't gotten to you yet. Penelope, I'm looking at you. I will be back on Twitter in some form or another. And in the meantime, you can follow me on Telegram, on Gab, Minds, Facebook, Instagram. I mean, I'm on everything else. So, anyway, I will get chat cleaned up when I stream next time. Really appreciate you guys coming out and hanging out tonight on this Friday night. And for BlackPilled, I'm Devin Stack.